Hey, third grade. This is Miss Walters. We missed you a whole bunch here at school. When you all left, we were talking about Native Americans and Europeans. And we were getting ready to find out what was up with that Croatoan stump that had been holding open the door for half the year. So today, you're going to see part one of the book, Roanoke, the Lost Colony. When I grow up, I want to be a detective, just like my dad. He says I was born curious, and curiosity is the best tool a detective can have. Right now, I'm curious about old mysteries that have never been solved. These are called open cases, my dad said, but I call them unsolved mysteries from history. As I organize the clues in my clue books, sometimes I use timelines, and I always keep a list of words that are important to the case. Roanoke, the Lost Colony, is about a group of English people who came to the American continent in the 1500s to begin a new settlement. They disappeared. Lots of people have ideas or theories about what might have happened, but no one's sure. My dad says no mystery is impossible to solve as long as you have enough clues. Here's how the story goes. In the year 1587, England and Spain were at war. A major battleground was the New World. Along the East Coast, forts were scattered. The one at Roanoke, manned by English soldiers. An early colony of 108 men, complaining about the harsh conditions and lack of supplies, had returned home. They had been poorly prepared for the new life in the New World, and had depended upon the native people for food while treating them badly. There had been frequent fights, and the colonists had accidentally infected the native people with a European disease. A native chief had been slaughtered. This was not a good way to begin a new settlement. New soldiers had arrived at an abandoned fort to hold it down until new colonists could arrive. The colonists were sure to come and lure gold and farmland that were too strong for any complaints to matter. So here it says that the word Roanoke actually comes from Roanoke people, which was an Algonquin tribe that lived in the area. However, the European settlers, who felt that they had discovered the New World, which consisted of North and South America, also believed that there were lands that they were the land's rightful owner. Without regard for the natives' rights to the land, they considered it part of Virginia, and they just claimed it for their own. Today, that piece of coastline is actually part of North Carolina. It says John White was a loyal Englishman and an artist. He was chosen to lead the colony by Sir Walter Raleigh, who had been given the charter to the land in Roanoke by the Queen. White may not have had leadership skills, but he already had been to the New World. He brought back paintings of the new plants, animals, and people. The colonists were chosen by Raleigh and White to build the new community. There were more than 60 men, farmers, craftsmen, assistants. There were close to 20 women, including White's own pregnant daughter, who had to work in the fields and houses. There were almost a dozen children. It says John White's drawings recorded everything he saw in the New World. White was not a great artist. It is in one of his paintings, a native woman even had 2 right feet. His work was to serve as science, not art. Only some of John White's paintings survived, about 75 originals. here you can see some of the Native Americans getting on a boat. Let's find out what's happening. Two Native men were also part of White's group. One of them, Manteo, had traveled in the company of the English before. John White hoped that they would help the colonists with the local Native people. I think we've heard of someone that helped other Europeans, right? You think of their names? He knew that the earlier colonists had had problems with fights, with diseases, and with killings, though he had never told Raleigh. He was sure that with the soldiers already at the fort, and with Manteo to help, that he could keep his colonists safe. So here, look at that very, very large tortoise. I'm wondering why they're carrying him like that and where they're going. The colonists left Port Smith on April 26, 1587. They planned to meet with the soldiers and then go to Chesapeake Bay, just north of Roanoke, where the land was more fertile and the harbor was safe. They sailed in 3 boats, a flyboat, a pinnace, and the flagship Lion. Okay. Right here, if you look carefully, you can see those 3 boats that they're talking about. They sailed in 3 boats, and after a month and a half at sea, they reached the Americas at last, stopping first on several islands. At Santa Cruz, several colonists ate green fruit. Ooh, probably not a good idea to eat fruit that you've never seen before, right? Let's see what happens to them. Their lips and their tongues swelled badly. A number of people even drank from a pond that had water that was so evil that they fell dreadfully ill. Some who washed their faces in the water had swollen eyes for 5 or 6 days. That's crazy. They captured 5 huge tortoises, and they ate it for meat. Could you imagine eating a large tortoise? It'd be crazy. So 16 men had to carry them, and they became so exhausted just by hauling them back to the ship. At the flagship's last drop anchor outside Roanoke's shallow harbor, White and 40 of his men planned to take the pinnace to shore to meet with the soldiers, and then continue on to Chesapeake, where they were going to stay. But the flagship's pilot, Simon Fernandez, had other ideas. He refused. He just absolutely refused. Could you imagine? He refused to take the colonists any farther and put them all ashore at Roanoke. So he just dumped them off there. When White and his men got to the fort ahead of the larger group of colonists, they found it razed. Okay, so razed, that just means that it was destroyed completely and torn down. Great melon vines grew in what remained of the houses. Deer grazed there. All that was left of the soldiers was one single skeleton. "We must make the best of what we have," said White. And so they began to repair the houses. So there is that one single skeleton. We're going to stop there for today. Could you imagine landing in a new land, and when you get there, everything is empty? Deer are eating the grass. You're looking around. Vines have grown over everything you see. And then you stumble upon just one skeleton. Come back tomorrow and we'll find out a little bit more about this mystery.